Hi and welcome to my channel. In this video I'll give you a comprehensive overview of the genitive case. Please note that I've also done videos on the accusative and dative cases. To start off, let's quickly look at how the genitive case affects articles in German. Here you'll see that all articles change in the genitive case. The articles make the following changes. Masculine der becomes des, feminine die becomes der, neutral das becomes des, and plural die becomes der. Remember that the plural die works the exact same way as the formal die. So that is when you're using you, formal, for somebody who you don't know, it acts the exact same way here as die plural on screen. Here I quickly wanted to show how the genitive case works with a pronoun. So I've taken the German word for my, mein. In the masculine, mein becomes meines. In the feminine, meine becomes meiner. In the neutral, mein becomes meines. And in the plural, meine becomes meiner. The same changes happen for dein, sein, ihr, unser, and euer. So you can take this as a format that you can reproduce with those other pronouns. Like the dative case, the genitive case is a little bit more difficult to learn than the accusative case. However, it is quite easy to spot because of the use of the word des, which only shows up in the genitive case for masculine and neutral words. So what is the genitive case? The genitive case is often used to explain possession of something. However, it doesn't just show up after, for example, the word of. It also shows up after genitive prepositions, which don't always have to do with possession. An example of when the genitive case is used to show possession in English would be when you say something like, my old friend's car. To relate this to the way it's expressed in German in the genitive, instead let's change it from my old friend's car to the car of my old friend. Here you'll see it translates then pretty much one for one into German as das Auto meines alten Freundes. In the second example here, let's change her mother's letter to the letter of her mother. That then translates to der Brief ihrer Mutter. The airplane's window then becomes the window of the airplane, das Fenster des Flugzeugs. And finally, their nice kids picture, a picture of their nice kids, ein Bild ihrer netten Kinder. Note on screen I have given an example of words with each of the articles der, die, das, and die. The last two examples here are probably more naturally said the second reordered way, but I just wanted to keep the examples consistent to explain the point. Sometimes people can get confused on how to conjugate the pronoun in the genitive. In the second example here, because it's her mother's letter, we use ihr to denote her, and then we look for the article of the word we are describing, in this case Mutter, a D word, and then we conjugate the genitive ending for feminine words with the er ending at the end of the word, so it becomes ihrer. Also note, in these examples I've also included an adjective in the first and last examples. Alt becomes alten in the first example, and net becomes netten in the last example. In the genitive case, all adjectives take the en ending after all conjugated articles, so this kind of simplifies how to use adjectives in the genitive case. On screen now, you'll see another way to say each of these sentences in German. I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't mention that often the genitive case is replaced by the dative case in German. In fact, when speaking, most people would probably default to the dative case instead of the genitive case, and the genitive case is more frequently found in written text as opposed to spoken. That isn't to say that you won't hear the genitive case used in conversation, but the dative option is probably more common. So in our first example here, my old friend's car, in the genitive we had das Auto meines alten Freundes, but in the dative you could also say it as das Auto von meinem alten Freund. The second example became der Brief ihrer Mutter, Here you could also say in the dative case, der Brief von ihrer Mutter. The window of the airplane became das Fenster des Flugzeugs. In dative that would be das Fenster von dem Flugzeug. A picture of their nice kids, ein Bild ihrer netten Kinder, becomes in dative ein Bild von ihren netten Kindern. You'll see that in order to replace the genitive case here in German, you'll often have to use the dative preposition von. Okay, let me quickly touch on expressions or phrases in the genitive case in German. So these are not super common, I just wanted to show you them, but maybe if you're interested or you come across them later on, you can check them up online. Okay, the first example here, it's not worth the effort. In German, this would be actually in the genitive case, and it would be es ist der Mühe nicht wert. Next up, I am aware of the urgency of your search. Ich bin mir der Dringlichkeit deiner Suche bewusst. And thirdly, one day we'll visit Berlin. Eines Tages besuchen wir Berlin. Like the second example that we have here, in many cases the expressions which use the genitive case in German will often contain the word of in the English translation of the phrase. This is often how you can figure out if something is being expressed in the genitive case. The last example here is an expression of indefinite time, which you often see expressed in the genitive case in German. So here we had eines Tages. You can also have eines Abends, eines Nachmittags, and so on. So this is kind of a set phrase that is used in the genitive case in German. In the videos on the accusative and dative cases, you might remember that there are some points that sort of overlap between both of those cases. However, the genitive case is completely removed from that accusative-dative relationship, and you can very much see the genitive case in isolation from the accusative and dative cases. Like the accusative and dative cases, there are some verbs which produce exclusively the genitive case, but they are very uncommon. In fact, there are other verbs which can commonly be used to express the same thing, which do not create the genitive case. For simplicity, I will leave some of these verbs on screen for you to investigate further if you would like. But in addition to the verbs possession or of that we talked about earlier on, and phrases, there are also prepositions which produce the genitive case, which are seen here on the right hand side of the screen. Let's quickly read down through them. Außerhalb, outside of. Anstatt, statt, instead of. Bezüglich, regarding or concerning. Binnen, within a time period. Dank, thanks to. Einschließlich, including. Innerhalb, inside of. Mangels, for lack of. Oberhalb, above or beyond. Trotz, despite or in spite of. Unterhalb, below, underneath. Während, during. Entwegen, because or on account of. The list of prepositions here is not complete, as I will be diving into dative, accusative, and genitive prepositions in upcoming videos, but serves as a good basis of the genitive prepositions. Now let's quickly take a look at how these genitive prepositions look in some example sentences. The first one here, she lives outside the town. In German that would be, sie wohnt außerhalb der Stadt. Here you'll see außerhalb changes die Stadt into der Stadt. In the next example, thanks to my friend's help, I passed the exam. Dank der Hilfe meiner Freundin habe ich die Prüfung bestanden. Here we've actually got two words in the genitive. Dank der Hilfe, so die Hilfe becomes Dank der Hilfe, and then of my friend becomes meiner Freundin. Die Freundin becomes meiner Freundin. And then in the last example here, I went for a walk in spite of the bad weather. Ich habe trotz des schlechten Wetters einen Spaziergang gemacht. Okay, I actually thought that this video would be a little shorter than it is, but apparently there's a lot of complexity in the genitive case, so I hope that you were able to follow along in this video and that I didn't confuse you or anything. But if you enjoyed it, please like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. And if you've got any questions, just put them down in the comment section below. Bis zum nächsten Mal.